What am I planning to do in 2026? Now, nothing I say is financial advice, but when it comes to VeChain, it's nothing that originally I wouldn't have done in 2025. What do I mean by this? Clearly, again, I am not telling any into anything. However, throughout 2025, I was dollar cost averaging once a month. I didn't do any less than that. I didn't do any more than that either. However, the thing is, I'm not going to change that. Now, the thing is, this is also not something that I have to do, right? Like, I could just easily not do it. I could exit out of VeChain anytime. But when it comes to its primary native token called VET, I have not just given up, and I am not going to plan to give up either, because my perception is that when I take a look at VeChain in terms of the Hayabusa upgrade, right? When I take a look at the partnerships that they have, also on top of that, when I take a look at the VeChain Tor blockchain and kind of how it's doing, generally speaking, overall, and just VeChain overall as a project, it just doesn't give me the vibe where I want to give up. But this is just my perception, and I'm not telling anyone to do anything. However, when it comes to VET, it's at a market cap that's below a billion, right? So currently, if we consider the current market cap, it's over 5 times lower than where it was back around a year ago, which was December of 2024. But the thing is Bitcoin over 5 times lower than where it was a year ago? No, it's not. Also, Ethereum is not over 5 times lower than where it was back around a year ago. Now, the thing is, some people like to say, okay, this is an apples to oranges comparison. I'm totally aware of that. But at the same time, if I just take a look at Ethereum and VET, they're both altcoins, right? Bitcoin's not an altcoin, but I'm saying, if I just take a look at, let's say, Ethereum and VET, they're both altcoins. But one is over 5 times lower than where it was back in December of 2024, and the other is not. You know what I mean? So to me, if I could only just choose one, I don't know if I would necessarily want to choose something that is not, hypothetically, I guess, over 5 times lower than where it was back in December of 2024. But that is just kind of my perception and just kind of my feelings towards this. However, this is all just purely hypothetical. However, also on top of that as well, when I take a look at something like VeChain, my kind of perspective is that, okay, I get it, it's not doing the best as of right now, but what altcoin is doing the best as of right now either? You know what I mean? Like, I can't find any personally. Like, altcoins generally are just not doing the best currently because there's just no altcoin season, and the change in sentiment just hasn't really happened when it comes to altcoins. But sometimes the way you take a look at it is this. The sentiment changed pretty quickly, right? From December of last year to right now. Like, it's been pretty drastic. But the sentiment also changed pretty quickly when the market cap of VET was around a billion back in 2023, and then it went to around 3.5 billion in 2024, and then also even in 2024 around, again, over 5 billion like I mentioned before. A movement in either direction could change the sentiment. So to me, okay, I get it. As of right now, it hasn't been that necessarily positive when it comes to VET. But what happens if, let's say, hypothetically, Bitcoin, it was at around 100 grand again, for whatever reason? What would the sentiment be like when it comes to altcoins? Sometimes that's just kind of the thinking that I have. And what would the sentiment also look like when it comes to VeChain? Because I did see a market cap of over 5 billion back just around a year ago. And the thing is this as well for me when it comes to VeChain. I take a look at this project, and my point of view is that, did it seem to kind of improve fundamentally or not? But then again, when I take a look at the Hayabusa upgrade and I take a look at what VeChain's trying to do overall, it just doesn't seem like the fundamentals became worse. This is just my perspective. However, also on top of that, VeChain still has this core focus in terms of being focused on, I guess, supply chain management. A lot of other projects out there, they keep changing their focus, they keep deviating from it, and I guess a certain aspect is because they want to try to find something to latch onto, I guess. But when it comes to VeChain, I like how their sort of mindset is that they're still being consistent with what they want to do, regardless of what is going on with the altcoin space. Because even if, let's say, I'm a developer, which I'm not, but I'm saying if I was, like if I actually know this space, I know that sometimes things could be like hypothetically positive and not positive, right? In some cases, like it's going to be a roller coaster. So if I kind of know that, I feel like sometimes there has to be something that I keep constant despite the inconsistent movements of the chart. And that is the objective and kind of the goal. Now, sometimes it could be tweaked a little bit, sometimes it could be changed. But if a project out there, sometimes I see they really believe in the objective, they don't really deviate too much. So when I take a look at VeChain, I guess I am a fan of what I'm seeing when it comes to being focused on supply chain management. However, this is just my perception. Now, the thing is this as well. When I take a look at something like VeChain, I don't think it's ever going to become like hypothetically top 10 or something like that, but why does it really need to, I guess? I mean, even if I take a look at it, again, it's over 5 times lower than where it was back in December of 2024. Like Ethereum and Bitcoin, they're not in that situation. You know what I mean? Like the thing is this, Bitcoin is over 3 times lower than 300 grand, but it's never ever reached 300 grand before in history. You know what I mean? If let's say we take a look at VET, right now it's over 3 times lower than 3 billion, right? But a 3 billion market cap literally is what I saw just around a year ago. And the thing is, even if we don't take a look at it that far, back in May, so we're talking about like 7 months ago, the market cap was like almost 3 billion. It was like what, around 2.6, around that range right at that moment. You know what I mean? That's a level that I saw before, but I have not seen Bitcoin at 300 grand before. Who knows what could happen though, what I'm just saying. And hopefully, depending on when you watch this, you all have a very nice New Year's. And yeah, we'll see what happens, I guess, in 2026. If there's going to be more updates, if there's going to be more things that are going to, happen when it comes to the VeChain, hopefully I'll be making videos when it comes to that. But again, yeah, only time will tell. And that's pretty much about it.